Welcome to the last episode of Ragtime. This is the place where we explore the world of retrieval augmented generation, or RAG for short. Hi, Sumit. Welcome. So tell me, what are we going to talk about today?
Hi Wassim, hi everyone. Today we are going to talk about hero use cases for RAG, do's and don'ts, and best practices.
Oh, awesome. I'm already excited to hear your insights about this topic. But before we jump into the best practices, I think we have a special interview with Ben and April. They are going to talk about industry use cases, lessons from RAG powered systems, and the importance of responsible AI. Over to you, April and Ben.
Hey everyone, I'm April, and today we're joined by Ben Tezcan, AI Search Principal Program Manager. Ben, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, of course. So today we'll explore real world industry use cases for RAG, lessons learned from building RAG power systems, and the critical role of responsible AI. So let's jump right in. So, Ben, we've been hearing so much about RAG transforming how industries operate. Could you share some standout use cases where RAG power systems have made a tangible difference?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe let's start with why you need RAG and why you want to use it within your enterprise organization. So first of all, you might have heard about large language models, the LLMs. So they are trained with all the data that is available in internet. And whenever you ask a question, the LLM will respond you back from that public knowledge, which might not be relevant for your enterprise scenarios. The second limitation is within an LLM, they are operating within a smaller context window. What I mean is you cannot pass millions of documents to an LLM and ask them to respond you back. What you need to do is you need to find much more relevant documents or information within the entire corpus of the data that you have so that you can provide those within a part of your retrieval augmented generation, basically the RAG system to an LLM so that the LLM can respond you back. And the third one is LLMs don't have the latest information. So even they trained with the public knowledge, they have a cutoff date. It might be 6 months back, a year back, which means you're not able to access the latest and the relevant data. So within those limitations, people started using RAG as a part of their internal applications and as well for external applications, especially for employee productivity. This is the number one use case that we have seen, and there's a noticeable trend towards using an organization-wide RAG system. And instead of using large organizations the wide documents, you can, instead of try to find some links, you can easily start chatting with a chatbot, which will bring you the much more relevant information with the original documents if you want to look at it. The second one is mainly the customer relationship management chatbots. So these chatbots have been trained on specific knowledge, excelling at custom scenarios like customer onboarding, customer support, sales assistant, and more. Those chatbots have been trained with frequently asked questions about a product and can answer to your questions or a customer's question in a conversational experience. Those chatbots are the most important trend that we have seen. And normally, the organization starts serving those chatbots first with the internal employees that are helping external users and customers. And then once they mature it, they will start opening those to end users and customer facing chatbots.
Okay, so those are really great examples. And I think even here internally at Microsoft, when I've had questions with HR, I've used like an example of that. And it's super helpful just given that all the information's there. So, what would you say makes RAG particularly well suited for solving these sort of problems?
Yeah, that's a great question. So RAG gives you the ability to reason over the data that you have. So what I mean, let me a little bit more unfold it. Like in the traditional search, like we all been trained to find some keywords, type them, retrieve the results, and then within all the results that we retrieved, we look at those links, click some of them, try to collect and combine some of those information, and try to find the real actual content that we are after. And it might take maybe hours, it might take maybe days to find the right one, and then you need to have a domain expertise to understand and
Yeah.
correlate all this information together. With RAG, now you can completely redesign this experience. You can ask exactly whatever question that you have instead of trying to find a series of keywords. And the RAG will have the ability to understand your question, find the most relevant answers within your data sets, and respond you back with a summary instead of a series of links. So assume you want to find a special term from a series of contracts. In the traditional way, what you have to do is you type those keywords, you find the contracts, you go to the relevant pages, start reading, digesting, and try to bring your summary out of those. So with Drag now, just you ask your question, the
Yeah.
retrieval augmentation will provide you the documents, will summarize you back, and then instead spending maybe days, you might be getting the responses in just a minute or a few minutes.
That reduces a lot of time, which I know we could all use way more of. And so building these sort of systems, it must comes with a lot of trial and error. So what do you say are some of the key lessons your team has learned from building these RAG powered solutions?
Yeah. So the first guidance is, start today. If
Okay.
is, in the RAG, there are lots of iterations needs to happen. There are lots of things you need to learn. And is if you start as early as possible, you will have a chance to move faster. And as
Mm,
you learn, you can evolve, you can build better systems, much more robust and much more accurate RAG solutions. Second, leverage existing tools and open source code where available. Like Microsoft provides a series of examples in GitHub that can help you to build the rack solution pretty easily. You can just download the code, start today, and then you can, leverage all these open source tools that are available for you. And as well, use proven rack tools like AI Search that Microsoft excelled over the years to
yeah.
simplify the RAG experience. Also, check additional tools that we have within AI Foundry, like semantic kernel and prompt flow. So basically, you are not alone in this experience. There are lots of things that you can leverage, lots of learnings you might be, as well gathering to move forward. The third one is, I know everyone is so excited about building a rack solution because it is
Yeah.
so promising. But what I will suggest is, start small. Start with
Okay.
one use case, start working on it, establish an end-to-end process with some smart objectives, and then test the solution that you provide with a smaller subset of group. At first, build their trust, make them, their trusted advisors, collect the feedback from them, and iterate to the next one. This way, you will learn quick, you will iterate quick, you will succeed or fall quick, but eventually it will be really helpful to move faster forward. And the last, maybe the most important piece, like technology enthusiasts like us, we want to use always the latest. But what
Yeah.
I'm suggesting is instead doing so, start understanding the real business problem. Talk to your users, understand their problems, understand what they are trying to solve, and then drill down into the necessary components to build a solution to address their needs versus building per se the coolest solution that you might have.
I think one thing I really love that you said there is to start small. Recently, I was sharing with my team that I'm working on a personal project. It's a rag chat bot, but it's going to recommend outfits based on the weather. And while I could provide all the clothes in my closet, I think I'm just going to start with 7 items just to not get a little too too far ahead of myself, just to test things. But with that said, like, are there any common pitfalls that developers should look out for when they're building their RAG systems?
Yep, yeah, absolutely. So again, if I will, start from the priority list, um, LLMs, RAG, AI is a very rapidly evolving space at this
Yeah,
point of time.
definitely.
Every day we hear a new, announcement. Every day we hear a new, a solution or an approach and an architectural design. So it is easy to get distracted per se by the latest trends. So what I
Yeah.
will suggest is, stay focused and deliver in small sprints. Make sure
Okay.
that you are delivering something, and make sure that you are providing a value added capabilities, services, solutions to your end users. Also, don't remember, like, RAG is a sports team. You need lots of skills, you need lots of different type of characters, personal, with different skills being part of your team to make
Yeah.
and build a successful RAG solution. The second piece is, I will say, the hallucinations. Even
Mm,
though we believe we build really good systems and
yeah.
LLMs are really kind of very confident that they are doing everything with the ultimate success, they might even convince you that you are always, or they're always finding a solution to your question or an answer to your question, but they do hallucinate, and when they
Yeah.
hallucinate, it impacts the organization. So always keep in mind to find ways to measure what LLM is providing you and
Yeah.
how you can reduce the risk of hallucination. And if it happens, how to get notified about those hallucinations. And it comes to my third point, which is around measuring, right? So
Yeah.
if an hallucination happens, if an AI quality problem happens, you need to make sure that you build a system end to
Mhm.
end, that you can measure the AI quality so that
Yeah.
in each every step, understand what is working, what is not working, and then improve your system over time, understanding where you can improve further as you
Mhm.
are measuring towards the entire journey. So basically, if you cannot measure, you cannot improve. Rule applies as well for rack systems.
Yes, that's a really, really strong point. And as you're speaking through about things like hallucinations and measuring, that all ties into one of my favorite areas, which is responsible AI. And so it's such a really important topic, especially with the scale and reach of systems like RAG. So, how do you see responsible AI practices shaping the way that we build and deploy such systems?
So with RAG, the number one goal is providing high quality responses, right? And to
Yeah.
achieve that goal, you need to build an end-to-end evaluation system, as I mentioned, that can measure the accuracy, that can measure the reliability in each and every step of the workflow.
Mhm.
And there, responsible AI plays a really crucial role and should be a major component of your workflow. So, responsible AI practices are fundamental in shaping and developing and deploying a system like RAG. Your evaluation workflows should ensure AI is fair, transparent, and accountable. And by establishing clear guidelines, you should address that issues such as like bias, data privacy, and user content, fostering trust and safety among users.
Okay, so what would you say advice that you would give to teams that's looking to implement responsible AI in their RAG workflow?
Yep. So to design a high performing rack system, you should consider using risk and safety evaluations
Okay.
throughout the entire application's lifecycle, from testing to production. And also, you can use or leverage additional tools like content filtering, especially
Mm-hmm.
for groundness or hallucination detection. And again, back to my initial point, you don't need to build those systems. There are already lots of available tools,
Yeah.
including from Microsoft, that you can easily plug into your workflow and build those, responsible AI systems, evaluation systems, and so on and so forth. And in
Hmm.
addition, explainability is also a core component. So you need to design your systems to provide clear explanation of how an AI is deciding and against which kind of actions. This
Yeah.
type of a transparency will help you build trust and help users understand the AI's reasoning process. So they can understand, these are the steps that AI have been through. These are
Mhm.
the information that it, analyzes to provide me this answer. So that even though you are not 100% confident the last answer is correct
Yeah.
or wrong, you can easily look at the process and understand and evaluate, whether this might be a potential hallucination or whether it is a correct answer. The second part for the developers, I think mainly the feedback loops,
Yes.
implementing the feedback loops where users can provide input on the AI performance. Like capturing this user feedback is crucial for the continuous improvement. You might have your test systems, test questions, evaluation frameworks, etc.
Yeah.
However, end users are always much more creative and they will always find different ways to tackle the same problem. And if you can make this connection and understand from them their experiences, their learnings, that will help you build much more performing systems with
Yeah.
high ethical standards.
I think those are really, really great things to take into consideration. And, we can try to make things and account for all the use cases while we're doing that evaluation phase. But to your point, we're humans. We can be creative too. And we can submit prompts that, the original development team didn't necessarily think of. So it is important to take that feedback into consideration, especially as we're iterating on the RAG chatbots that we create as we continue to evolve. So I think that's really great advice. But overall, Ben, I think that this has been such a valuable conversation, from industry use cases to lessons learned and the importance of responsible AI. I think you've given us a lot to think about. And so, do you have any final thoughts for our audience?
Absolutely. What I will gonna say is like AI and RAG will continue to be the center of innovation for the coming up couple of years. I will
Mhm.
suggest you to follow the latest trends, stay curious, always keeping the user trust at the center of your work.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much, Ben. Truly appreciate it. And now we're going to learn more about the do's and don'ts, best practices, and hero use cases from RAG.
This was an awesome discussion. Thank you so much. So, back to you, Summit. You work on Azure AI Search. Please tell us more about this service and how does it help developers build RAG applications?
Yeah, for sure, Wasim, right? So Azure AI Search is a platform as a service that helps developer build rich generative AI experiences. We provide customers with a rich vector database built on an enterprise-ready foundation, so you can focus on exponential growth and scale without worrying about the internals.
Um, I must admit that Azure AI Search is one of my favorite services on Azure. It's helping me a lot when I need to add RAG capabilities to my apps. So, in your opinion, what are the crucial components of a well designed RAG application?
Let's see. Let me let me pull up a screen for what all rack experiences do you have, right? Now, as you can see from the slide, Wasim, right? RAG experiences requires a lot of things to come together. Enterprise grade security, quality of results, cost considerations, and performances. You want to get accurate results faster and cheaper.
Oh, great. So, let's start with quality. Tell us more about the challenges that you think may affect the quality of responses for RAG app.
Sure. Yeah, quality is right up there when we're talking to the customers, right? And it starts by understanding the customer intent. What kind of a question the end users are asking. Is it a fact seeking or a navigational query? For example, are they looking for a specific type of a tire, or are they looking for options for holidays, right? Understanding the intent is the key here. Once you're past that, it is important to understand how grounded the results are based on customers' own data. This is very important for an enterprise perspective. And search systems like Azure AI Search plays a crucial role here by making sure that the system sticks to what they do.
That's a great breakdown, Sumit. Yeah, I totally agree that grounding responses in enterprise data ensures trust and relevance. And speaking of which, let me show you a quick demo of how a system might put this into action.
Sure.
So here we have a web app deployed as a serverless container on Azure Container Apps. It's implementing RAG using Llama Index and using Azure AI Search for indexing the data and search operations. So to begin, I'm going to be asking the LLM a specific question, and as you can tell, it's not able to provide me with relevant answers. And this is because it wasn't trained nor using my own data. Next, when we run a command to create and generate the vector index on Azure AI Search, the LLM is not able to find the right answer and even provided me with the exact chunks or citations that contain the response. I find this amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome, right? It shows the importance of not only groundedness but transparency to customers on how results are surfaced, right? And to continue on our quality discussion, Wasim, the final piece is how do we always keep improving, right? Validate your results, get feedback from your end users, and continuously benchmark how good the outputs are, right, as perceived by the end users. Now that allows the customers to keep improving the results, right? The bottom line is your retrieval strategy matters, and our comprehensive search technology goes far behind the vector search. We ensure that you have the capabilities you need to retrieve accurate information for every kind of questions, regardless of your use case or data.
Yeah. So, yeah, could you elaborate more on some of the techniques you think are important in enhancing retrieval for RAG applications? And how do these factors contribute to the overall effectiveness of the system?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that's a loaded topic. A lot of our customers are, looking for answers there. Let's start from the top, right? You start by indexing the documents, right? Now, what is important is during indexing, it helps to break down the documents into specific chunks. Now, there are different chunking methodologies: fixed length overlaps and semantic chunking, and structure based chunking, right? All of them have their own places in understanding the content. Now, once you are past that, the next choice is the choice of the right embedding models, right? They are important for your specific data and also for the cost, because different models have their own cost considerations. Now, as your data lands into Azure AI Search, you have options on how deep you want your graphs to be, right? Deeper graphs can be more accurate, but they are costly too. Once the data is there, you start with the query understanding that we talked about, right? So Azure AI Search supports query rewriting, which leverages an SLM and tries to capture the intent of the query from the user's perspective, right? Post that, you get into the options of how many results that you want to surface and share with your LLM for the LLM output, right? Now remember, too many results and the LLM output can be too general, but too few the results that you kind of send it to that to the LLMs, you may miss the right answer. And finally, Azure AI Search has something called as semantic re-ranking, which is specially trained for RAG scenarios and surface the most relevant docs at the top. Now, let me show you how these kind of work out from the relevance perspective. You can see uh, how our different techniques helps to increase the relevance right at the top, right? With our hybrid query re-ranker and L2 re-ranker that we have, we are able to boost the relevance by 30 to 40 percentages across the data sets in the industry.
Wow. Yeah, this is really interesting, actually. So earlier you briefly mentioned cost. Let's talk about that because I know it's an extremely important topic for a lot of customers.
Yeah, great question, Wasim. Last 2 years have been a roller coaster ride in terms of how these models have come and they're becoming cheaper and cheaper, right? Now, having said that, at Azure AI Search, we have a lot of levers to allow customers to optimize their cost and balance the relevance with the right dollar amount, right? So, when you vectorize your data, it primarily increases the size of the indexes multifold, right? And at Azure AI Search, we have multiple techniques to kind of control the size that you have. One of them is called quantization, where you can compress through dimensionality reduction. So compress from, let's say, a float 32 to float 16, or to int 8 or byte, and you will see that the size of the overall vectors come down drastically, right? Now, Azure AI Search is also capable to support MRL, models, and these models have trained on the specific techniques like Mitrowski representation learning that produces multiple vector representations at different level of compression. This approach produces faster searches and reduced storage costs with minimal loss of semantic information. So you get cheaper and faster performances, right?
Okay. Yeah,
Now, yeah,
that's great to understand. Yeah.
yeah. So some of this information is also there in some of the earlier sessions that Mike and Pamela. They did a deep dive on some of the vector optimizations.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, customers have so many options to choose from, right?
Yeah.
um, so let's talk about the last component, which is performance. How does Azure AI Search help developers enhance performance for their RAG applications and
Yes,
experience?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, performance is crucial for a lot of our customers, right? They want a RAG experience where the results are like available in few seconds. And we are seeing that models are becoming faster and cheaper overall. Now, today in Azure AI Search, you have various stuff that allows you to kind of improve the performances. We looked at quantization and dimension reduction, for example.
Yes.
Now, these at the same point of time also decreases the overall latencies because you need to load lesser data into the memory, right? So this helps both in cost and performance, right? But the bottom line, Wasim, today is that search systems have latencies in milliseconds, whereas once you send the top results to large language models, it may take up to few seconds to get the responses back, right? So sometimes optimizing just at the search side doesn't help, right? Now there are methods in this case like caching the top queries and their search results, right? Once you cache the results, you bypass the whole generative AI call. You directly, are able to fetch the answers right from the query. Now there are a lot of different caching techniques out there that our customers can leverage.
Yeah, this is really awesome. It's all about caching. So yeah, let me just recap here. Quality, cost, and performance are here like key consideration, and it's great to see how Azure AI Search provides customers with powerful levers to customize and optimize their search experience. So yeah, thank you so much, Sumit. I really appreciated our conversation and learned a lot from your experience. It was great to hear your insights on quality, intent, and enterprise search. Really valuable perspective.
Yeah, great discussions, Wasim. Great to talk to you as always.
Congratulations! This is the last stage of our RAG journey. In this final stop, we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts for retrieval augmented generation and explore some of the best practices for your solutions. Let's start by looking at the anatomy of a well-designed RAG. We're really thinking about four things: security, cost, quality, and performance. Quality starts by understanding customer intent. Are they looking for facts or information? Quality is tied to groundedness, especially in enterprise where the result accuracy impacts our customers' trust. Retrieval strategy matters for cost, quality, and performance. Real-world datasets and benchmarks are useful tools to help us validate this. Enhance your retrieval by looking at the end-to-end processing pipeline. Think about chunking strategy, model selection, and document understanding. Improve your relevance using techniques like query rewriting, semantic re-ranking, and understanding the top case selection using cost and performance criteria. Optimize for costs by using the various levers in Azure AI Search to balance cost with quality. Think about quantization, matryoshka representation, scalability with data size, and more. And finally, performance is crucial. RAG should be fast and easy. Think about the limitations of the large language models you're using and also caching strategies that can help reduce latency even before the search query hits the model.